a real popular name in the internet streets these days. Dolph, B-Dell's been talking about the Tahuti energy, Melchizedek, all of that type of energy. Rod Hayes talks about it. RFG talks about this energy. If if they say, like I've heard, they say Dolph in the Emerald Tablets, they said Dolph said he observed civilizations rise and fall. So let's say he observed a 25,000 year cycle. What I want to know is that, because we know the science of dimensions and time and things being different, do you think that it's possible for him to observe a 25,000 year cycle? Maybe it was 100 years where he was at. So when he's saying this and he's writing this, we think he lived 100,000 years, but where he was at when he observed this, him being conscious of his multidimensional nature, it was only 100 years where he was at. So what do you think about a lot of the history we get and a lot of the books we get passed down? The time is completely different from what we perceive. We're perceiving these historical books from a 2024 perspective, when in reality, we're not looking at it from a multidimensional nature. And Thorpe looked at this shit rise and fall in 100 years, but it was really 25,000 years Earth time. What's your thoughts on that idea in terms of us studying history from the wrong timeline, or using the wrong time reference point?
So a lot of the wrong information that we operate from was given to us deliberately.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you can control the way a person perceives reality, you can use that control in order to use their manifestation ability to work on the behalf of the reality you want them to create.
Right.
Right. Now you gotta remember, if right now we wasn't in physical form, time wouldn't exist.
Right.
How long have we been calculating time on Earth?
I don't know. Shit.
On a system that was created by Pope Gregory, and every 360 days away from our birthday, we've been saying we're getting 1 year older every 365 days away from our birthday, and that in itself puts ourselves in a daze. D-A-Z-E. That's where they come up with the term days, D-A-Y-S. You see what I'm saying? It's all an illusion. And then you got the month, M-O-N, dealing with the mana, which means moon, the moon matrix, which is an illusion. You see what I'm saying? It's all, and then you have the days make a week. You see what I'm saying? That's harvesting energy from the body, making you weak, thinking that you're getting older, believing in the illusion of time. The illusion of Maya.
That's a fact.
Look, if you go back, history starts with the first dynasty in Egypt. That's recorded history, and the Sumerians is contemporary with the first dynasty. But nobody's talking about the other kings list that before the first dynasty, where one king lived 100,000 Earth years. Right? Because history starts with the first dynastic period in Egypt. That's because the common practice of history comes out of the temple priest of Tahuti to record the records and knowing that the amnesia was coming. The amnesia is a side effect of the collapsing of the fourth dimension into the third. Because you're seeing two minds together at the same time. You that knocked you silly. You was delirious. But before the first dynasty, right, they not telling you the Sphinx was there almost 8,000 years before the pyramids. But if you use their dating systems, popularized by Sheikh Anthony Diop. But I'll tell you what, look.
Y'all, shout out,
if the people in this country really understood the level of innocent Charles Manson was, it would really shake the foundation of everything they believe. Charles Manson was what's called the first whistleblower on record. He was the first one telling us about the LSD program, why he was using LSD, by the way, that he was getting from the government, by the way, that the government admitted to giving to him to give to the children of the family, that he was supposed to be formulating a war with Joseph Sinkyu, who later became the Symbionese Liberation Army. All this is government records.
Man, this is deep.
Right? But we don't want to read no government records. We rather go read some Louis L'Amour or some Anne Rice, if we read at all.
Right.
Right? Very few people is nosy as me to go looking and saying what the government say about it. This nigga put it in the book, but what did the government say about it?
Right.
Right. And when you pull the government document, now you got the action. I put a post up and I said, we exposed them lying liars and the lies they lied about and signed they lying ass names to the lies they told. Right? This how you find out who the dirt dealers is, by finding out who created the condition, who told him to create the condition. So if they telling you that it's an operational government program, formerly known as Artichoke, but because they almost got exposed, they changed the name to MK Ultra. Right? Now, when they changed the name to MK Ultra, they drafted all of the greatest scientists from Canada and the United States, because they are in a war, Cold War-like condition with the rise of this guy they call Adolf Hitler. While he's rising, he's doing psychological research too, that he was privy to through the Thule Society, and all of modern psychiatry and psychology is derived from temple priest rites. And if you don't know what the temple priest taught, you would never equate what the psychiatrist, the psychologist, your AA, your ENA, all that is pyramid priest culture. If you go back to the Zulu tribe, when the men come back from war, they got a detox period that they have to go through before they matriculate back into society. Now, why would you need that? We are all post-traumatic stress disorder from a 500-year protracted struggle across generations against an enemy that looked like us, looking us in our face, telling us that other people is the enemy that don't look like us, and got us so convinced that while they killing us, pretending to be us, and blaming it on the people that don't look like us, we ain't never paying attention to why we can't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps that this nigga stole. He stole my boots, but he want me to pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Cold nigga, that's it. That's in live for you, boy. That's in live for you. Type of nigga to tell you, and he'll tell you, hey, he go $1, go to the store and buy me a bag of chips. And then he'll call to the store before you get there and tell him, hey, it's a nigga there for to come up there with a red shirt on. Don't sell them no chips. Just to see how it turn out and laugh at, just so he can laugh about it. What type of niggas is that, Rod, man? You know, then you talk, you sent me up here to get the chips. Then you call people and tell them don't sell me none.
We call them practical jokers.
You know what I'm saying? Practical jokers. That's it, Lil.
So they asked about Branch Davidians and David Koresh. The thing that I like to tell people is when you see that video, when they saying, I say I'm Jesus Christ, ask to see about 30 seconds before that. Because he gonna tell you that the government is telling people that I said I am Jesus Christ, but they cut everything off but the I am Jesus Christ to justify blowing this man up. They know there ain't no pale-faced, stringy-haired man gonna ever be Jesus, because Jesus is ISIS. So when they have these people that they accuse to be Jesus, that they so-called ceremonially crucifying, right? They not telling you that the reason why they automatically know this person ain't the Christ is because he the wrong gender, he the wrong skin complexion, and the wrong hair texture, right? So they automatically know, but they always use the Christ narrative in order to label people a heretic that they want to execute. And what he was actually doing that had the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms there is he was buying gun replicas of heavy military artillery and converting them into fully operational, and he was selling it to the militias. So the ATF traced militia raids that they had with various militia groups that they slaughtered, like they did them people at Ruby Ridge that had the right to defend themselves and their property, right? But the government don't care about your rights. When it's time to slaughter you, they just gonna slaughter you. And they use this Jesus thing as the cover story to convince people that David Koresh was totally insane and that he was doing all of these nefarious things. Some of it he might have been doing, but he wasn't doing all of that stuff they say he was doing. Because once they get him to the point where he might become a martyr, they have to hang him in effigy next, which means assassinate the entirety of his character so that there will be no what you call copycat groups rising up to avenge him. They practice on him, but their goal is people like Larry Hoover. Right? So they want to know, how do we get Angel Bay? Go back and look at this stuff, and they literally said they listened to them long enough to make up a code off the language that they was talking, right? And that they created a code language for the Peace Stone Nation. The government just telling you they doing it, and that they using this to entrap Jeff Ford. They telling you in the documentary that this is what they did. They brought in linguists and specialists from around the country to sit there and analyze their natural rhythm of language and to come up with a code that they can use to justify a sting operation that they used to arrest a man that's in prison and people that they called his accomplices and accused them of terrorist activity in a terrorist plot that the CIA created, because they tell you that they did it to get Jeff Ford. They admitted it, and he's still in there, and the government is fully 100% aware that just his presence alone affects how these soldiers feel as a man. We don't cry free Angel Bay, Jeff Ford, because the government's effigy hanging tactic. In his case, he's the godfather buried alive, right? Benny Lee squeaked out their grasp. They had him. He got out. Willie Lord got out and escaped their grasp, but he wouldn't act right by his family, so his family did what they did to him. Right? And they still got other kings in the Vice Lord Nation that's functional and operational to aid and assist the fellow righteous brothers in the rebuilding of our communities, but they don't want to be a part of it if the government involved, because every time the government get involved, they FRS up. They took our breakfast programs, used them in our community long enough to take them to somebody else's community before they cut them off in ours. We didn't see it coming. They gave Angel Bay money. The government gave him money to do what he was doing just so they can accuse him of fraud for doing what he did with the money. It's a grant. It was a grant from the government to pay for the work he was doing already in the community. Look it up. I'm not making none of this up. And if there's any people from Chicago that's in the comments, tell them, am I making this up? They told on themselves. I didn't write none of them government documents. They wrote them. And they told you what they did, how they did it. And it's the same MO they used. They burned up and blew up Philadelphia, moved Brother John Africa. And Ramona Africa here to tell the story, so y'all don't have to believe me. We've been in a war.
Yeah, we're not slaves. We prisoners of war. We were never slaves. We were prisoners of war.
We've been at war for 500 years. The Gullah War just ended up having to go clandestine because we had to get a different type of feel for the strategies they was using. And this is what made them call Chief Pontiac Rod Hayes, because one of my specialties is tracking the source of nefarious sorcery.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah.
I don't have a job because I'm better than nobody. I had a job because that's what I was trained to do from birth.
You call
so now, if I'm identifying the conjure, I'm telling you whose blood the Constitution is written in to make us all go into this placid consciousness and allow them able to rule over us. They wouldn't have been able to rule otherwise. And I tell you where the agreement came right out of their Bible, where it say the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. And they told you Crispus Attucks was the first one to die in the American Revolution, a nigga, and they don't never want you to forget it because they got to give you the opportunity to discover first blood. It's blood in, blood out. Right? First blood was one of us. That means it was our shit. Then while they doing their political campaign with a George Washington first president narrative, they in the boardrooms of secret societies draining the blood of Crispus Attucks in the buckets and using quill pens to re-script it word by word, letter by letter, page by page. In that Constitution that's sitting right there, you can see what it looked like by looking up the George Washington Masonic Memorial Museum. And when they show you the Constitution in there, you see that blood is faded. The contract is over, baby.
Yeah.
So it was a conjure war, but we had some other stuff going on. We had other conjures that was interfering with our ability to see clearly the problem. They had to be undone first before the final conclusion of the big conjure. which was the Haitian revolutionary conjure, was still open. The broken mirror to break the sisterhoods up was still open. These people got to close, their descendants have to close the contract. And it falls to the duty of the descendant that has the most similarities in genome sequence to the original person who executed the spell or curse. Because only the person who cast the spell can break the spell. And the person genetics that's closer to it can channel the person enough to get permission to break the curse. But you have to do it by reenacting or re-walking in the steps of your ancestor. Right? So when you understand that the Huguenots, the French, were the ones we was fighting on the Louisiana territory, the same ones that the Haitians was fighting, and that they had Toussaint in custody for a period of time before the war got thick. This had to be reverse engineered by a descendant. That means that somebody descending of Toussaint L'Ouverture, who's closest in genetic makeup to Toussaint, will be able to channel him enough to live the suffering of Toussaint L'Ouverture in the breaking of the Haitian revolutionary conjure. So then you see what happened to divine insight. Because the custody of the French is a prerequisite in walking in the path of the particular ancestor. And this how you have to know how to break the curses. So he getting stronger, you know, and we know he gonna get out from under it because we knew it was some BS when it happened. We knew what they came at him for. You know, we know why they made everybody move how they moved in the situation. It wasn't no coincidence that he was instructed to isolate himself from spiritual powerhouses who could lend some spiritual support to the attack he was under. So they got to make sure he isolate them away from him first. Strategy. This is being done strategically. It's not haphazardly. It's not somebody just stumbled across the brother and said, "Cuss them brothers out." No. Snake slid up under him, fed him some venom, and played the victim to play on his masculine traits where he defend the women he respect. Right? Then it put him in the adverse position because he know now that he done isolated himself. He now been Toussainted. He been captured on the French ship, isolated by the conquistadors and the Huguenots while he tried to figure out how to get free. It's just a reenactment. Because of the blood and the right, you have to walk the path of the ancestors to walk out of the condition that trapped us in order to free us from the condition that we trapped in. Right? All of the people that was present, descendants from the night where they made the pact to conjure the spirits from across the crossroads to assist them to oust the enemy for the final liberation. From there, they sent soldiers to Florida and set up Little Haiti. Their appointed post in the war was Little Haiti. That's why they never left, because they had to hold a post, because the only time they're going to collectively leave is to rebuild Haiti. It's the only thing that will be strong enough for their heartstrings to take them back home. Now, the Bookman's role in it, he's from Jamaica. And this is why Jamaicans is the only police force that the Haitians let over there. But we not paying attention because they got us thinking that Dessalines Barbecue, son of Dessalines, is a gangbanger. We don't know he a tribal leader walking in the ancestral path to redeem the land from the clutches of the colonizers. But with all of this stuff going on, right, the Bookman got to go deal with the curse that's put on Jekyll Island. Because the same ones that he fought in Jamaica that led him to Haiti is the same ones that landed in Florida and found that place called Jekyll Island and tried to put the curse on the land. Right? And now they got the three sisters that come after them doing the ceremonial female parts of the conjure. And one of the sisters was the one who actually was blood sacrificed for victory. And she was reliving it until we started working on reverse engineering the conjure. Now she's able to be fully present in the present for herself. All this is side effects of the recovery, but we still playing out a process, reverse engineering all of the conjures. So we about there. Then the conjures be removed, then the people start to move correctly automatically. What Baba say? Right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding produces right action. Right? And then you got what's called the eightfold Buddhist path of righteousness. Right? And so we know that there's a formula, but if we don't use it, we can't benefit from it. And that's why we come on here and we find out information that most people don't know and put it in the public domain. Tribal tradition is the most amount of the tribe's people that can get the understanding of what's going on. We can collectively then unite mentally first in order to see the problem clearly together. And together we execute the solution, because if you can see the problem, the solution is present. And this is the moment of truth in the bull fight, where the bull for the first time see the matador is not the cape, and the cape is not the matador. Fine. Now he's looking at him dead in his eye at the moment of truth. If that matador don't act right with this last strike, he out of there. It's the moment of truth. This is where we at. All of these cases, like Big Tookie case, is the same MO as Geronimo Pratt case. The police got caught bragging about setting Geronimo Pratt up, and he was locked up 27 years. Right? Go back and read Mumia case in New Jersey. Right? He got bopped upside the head by the police. The lady looking out the window said the other police shot the police. The police that hit Mumia in the head turned around and shot his partner. And by that time, Mumia loopy sitting on the curb. They told her, lady, you didn't see that. They never put her statement in the report, but it was still in the file. And coming to find out, and it was part of a crooked cop investigation, right? It came out that the cop that got killed was the straight up cop that was telling on the crooked cop. And they still won't let that man out and got him forever locked up. We know they doing this. The only reason why somebody would do this much stuff to a people is they at war. Look what they did to Assata. Right? Why they want to kill Assata? She was part of the leadership of the land. That's her territory. That's her queen's land right there. The New Jersey, the turnpike. Grab a goose by the neck. Flip the T on the turnpike.
They said they were gonna get rid of the chiefs, so in order they had to get rid of the clan mothers because the clan mothers picked the chiefs.
Look, people, these names that I'm dropping, go look these people up. Look up Lucy Parson. Most feared black woman in America by the FBI. I'm not making that up. So why was she so feared? When you start reading their story, they're going to tell you that she was a woman, that she was an Indian woman. But when they tell you the highlights, they tell she was the most feared black woman. They knew she was a tribal mother. She just didn't know how to extend her reach because she didn't have her personal strategists like Empress Redbird got now, where we can make a further reach by explaining it to enough clans members that the natural nature of the clans, we begin to wake up and stop participating in the shenanigans. So eventually it's going to come to a point where our people is just going to leave a blank statement across the internet. I'm organic to this land and I do not consent to y'all presence, period. And once we start rolling that and different people doing it, everybody doing it on their page, type it on your page, I am organic to this land and I do not consent with your presence.
Right.
Take over the internet. They hate when we take over the internet for some reason. It's like they butt sore if we take over the algorithms in the internet. We ain't understood the strategies that they play by. The reason that they don't like us taking the algorithm over because the algorithm directs the flow of their currency through the